Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, evening to everyone. So let's begin with the topic for today, which is Pluto. And even if it is not, considered a planet right now, it has a very powerful effect on us in our solar system. So one incredible thing about Pluto is that this planet was discovered in 1930, very close to our time, on February 18th, if I don't make any mistake. So February 18th, 1930 was the year and the day when Pluto was discovered. And the reason why it took so long for people to see this planet is because you cannot see it simply with your eyes in the sky like you can see other planets. It's so tiny and it's so far away that its light cannot reflect to us. So it's really impossible to be seen unless you have a really big telescope. So that's why it was able to be discovered in 1930. So before Pluto was discovered, remember, as we spoke with Neptune, all this dark side of the cosmos that nobody knew what was there, it was considered like this subconscious that is away, so you cannot touch, you cannot relate to. It's the limits of our solar system. So that means that that black part of the sky is the end. And that's why we put our concept of ending to that region of the space. Is the limits, the end of our solar system. And from our point of view in biology, the end is death. So anything that was there in that region was considered the death of our solar system, the end, the crisis, the moment where you have to jump into the abyss. Okay. So that's the psychological concept from our point of view. So the reason why this planet was called Pluto in 1930 is because there was this tradition of keeping with the names, naming all the planets and the stars with the Greek and Roman tradition. So of course that this planet, which is hidden behind the darkness, which is surrounded by the shadows, would be the keeper of the shadows, of the secrets of the things. So because of this, it was for sure that its name should be Pluto, because of course that this planet was representing all the attributes of the god of the underworld, hidden on the darkness. So that's why they named Pluto, which is the Roman god of the hell, of the underworld, which for the Greek tradition you may know as Hades. So this in 1930 was named like a planet. So this rock was called the 9th planet of the solar system. And that's how many of us knew it for so long. But a few decades after that, concretely, this happened in 2006, so many decades later, they just understood that in order to be a planet, you have to follow certain characteristics. that that Pluto doesn't have. So you need to follow certain rules in order to be considered a planet, and Pluto is not following all those rules. So that's why it's called like a planetoid. Okay, it's a planetoid, also known as a dwarf planet. Okay, but a planetoid means that it has like the shape of a planet, but it's not precisely a planet. Okay, and it's part of the group of the Plutoids planets that, or rocks, that are all the kind of um, kind of rocks that levitate around the sun very far away. So this is why now you can hear that we don't have any more 9 planets in our solar system, that we have only 8 planets and a planetoid, which is Pluto. So when we say that the planet is not that Pluto is not a planet anymore, okay, it doesn't take importance to the effect of this planet or this rock. Okay, and why is that? Because the people that decides whether to call it a planet or a planetoid or whatever is just trying to name the things according to laws established uh, in the astrophysics and so on. So it's all about naming things. It's not about it's all about naming things. It's not about the importance of the of the of the object. Okay, remember that remember that planets are called like this because for the Greek people, they were not rocks floating in the space, were stars that were moving. Okay, so in that time, everyone thought that they were stars that were moving. That's the name planets. So it doesn't matter the name that it has. What matters is the effect that it has on us. Okay, so it's not that it's not a planet anymore, so it doesn't affect us. No, it's not like this. Okay, a planet, to be considered a planet, must be mainly a group of minerals, rocks, or gases that are all together around a core. And this core must be magnetical and usually has a rotation in its own axis. Sometimes it doesn't rotate, but it has a core. But mainly, it has to have an orbit around the star, a fixed orbit around the star. So another thing that that a planet usually has is a satellite. Okay, a satellite is something that goes around the main body. Okay, so what is a satellite? A satellite comes from the Etruscan word that means courtesan, that means a guardian. So a satellite is the person that usually goes aside the king or the prince to protect that person. So it's always aside, taking care of it, helping it with everything, protecting it. Okay, so that's a satellite, satellita. So that's the person. So then, when we start to name the objects that were around the planets, So we started to call it satellites because of those persons, aside the kings and the queens. So the Earth, for example, has an axis on itself that spins over its own axis, and also it has a fixed axis around the sun with an orbit. And it has a satellite named called the moon, and the moon is going around the axis of the Earth. So now we have a difference with this orbit of the moon and the Earth and Pluto. Pluto has five satellites. 4 of them are just rocks, but one of them is so big that it's a little bit less than half of the planet. So if Pluto is like this, its satellite is like this. Its name is Charon. See? Yes? So Charon is like this, and Pluto is like this. So it's really big for this planet. And not only that, remember, the Earth is 380,000 kilometers from the moon. So we are really far away. But Charon from Pluto is only 19,500 kilometers. 19,500 kilometers is nothing. It's really close. So if you are in Pluto, you can see its satellite, Charon, going up in the horizon with the size of a tennis ball just in front of your face, like really big, like this. It's really close. So now, Charon is so big compared to Pluto, and it's so close that something really weird happened. And it's that the magnetical field of the satellite, as it goes around the planet, is so hard and so powerful that also moves the planet. So in the same time as the satellite Charon is moving around, Pluto is also moving around a little bit as its satellite moves it and goes around. So kind of Pluto is not only the planet for its satellite, but it's also the satellite of its own satellite. Okay? I did this so you can see it a bit. Caronte y Plutón. Caronte y Plutón. So compare with the size, for example, this is the Earth and this is the moon. So the moon is tiny compared to the Earth. So now see Charon compared to Pluto is almost the same. So look at this. When Charon is going around Pluto, Pluto also makes a spin, like turns around, being pulled by its satellite. This is what we call a binary system. A binary system means that it has two objects that are moving together. So, for example, Sirius, the star, is not only one star, are two stars together, Sirius A and Sirius B. So this means that two planets are or two stars are working together, and they moved as one. So another characteristic of this planet is that it's so small that it's smaller than the moon. So if this is the moon, this is Pluto, and this is its satellite, Charon. So it is so small that if you put it on the Earth, you will see that Pluto and Charon can fit inside the states. It's very tiny, but it's really far away. So basically a human would need like 9.5 years to reach Pluto. It's very far away. So these are two basic things that makes Pluto to not to be a planet. Basically because it's not only so tiny, a dwarf, but also it doesn't have the strength enough to hold a satellite, so it behaves itself as a satellite. And another thing that makes this planet very weird is its orbit around the sun. Esta es la órbita de Neptuno, el último planeta del sistema solar. So this is Neptune, the last planet of our solar system. And this here is Pluto's orbit. Do you see what happened here? So this is the orbitation of this planet. They cross here. So there is sometimes in the year that Pluto is the 9th planet of the solar system, and sometimes it's the 9th. And Neptune sometimes is the 8th planet of the solar system, and sometimes is the 9th. So is the 9th. Isn't that weird? So here you have 1, 2, and 3 things that made this planet not to be really a planet. And however, this is a very important planet. This planet, besides not being a real planet, it is one of the most important. Why? And now we go to the etymology of its name. Pluto. Pluto comes from Pluton. Pluton is the Greek name for this planet, and it means abundance. It means wealth, the one that has all the wealth, the one that is rich. So why is Pluto the one that is rich? Because this god is the god of the underworld. The underworld, the world that is below the one that we live. So is the king of everything that is below. And what is below? Inside the mountains, the main sources of water, the flow of water that comes and creates the rivers. And this is why the etymology in the European languages is pleu. Pleu means flow, fluid. So the flow that is coming from the underworld is coming from there. But also this flow is in another way. Underworld, we have all the minerals that are considered the source of wealth. For the civilizations, whoever has the gold, whoever has the silver, the copper, all these elements, they are the rich ones, the kings, the queens, and so on. So that's why the Romans call this god Hades, they call it Pluto, Pluton, because it was the one that has the wealth. It was the ruler of all the minerals that were considered the wealth. Okay, so that's why they use this name for the god. So Pluto and Hades is the same god, is the same name. Okay, so it's important to know that for the ancient ones, the people that used to die, well, the people that dies, sorry, the people that dies, um, um, the people that dies goes to the underworld, not to the heaven. And why is this? Because for the ancient ones, of course, and even today, when we die, we go back to the ground. We are buried. We are put in the ground, and our bodies are dissolved into the earth, into the ground. So that's why the idea of the ancient ones was that nobody goes to the heavens. Everyone goes to the earth, to the inner world, which is the underground. So that's why the idea was that Hades was taking care of the place where all the souls used to go when they died. Bien. So they come back to the source of life, which is water, in the source of the inner world. So the people, when they die, they say you have to go through the source of water to reach the paradise of the inner world. So in order to do that, you have to cross a river, and this river is the Acheron River. This river was protected by a sailor that is called Charon. So the moon, the satellite of Pluto. Charon is the one that took care of all the souls, bringing them from one side to another, to the eternal life. But in order to arrive to the other side, what they needed was to pay a fee. So that's why in the Greek and the Roman tradition, they used to give to the dead one coin. So they used to put that coin in the mouth of the person, so nobody could steal it. Some of them could put it on the eyes, but usually they put this coin inside the mouth, and the dead person, when that person arrived to the shores of the river, they had something to pay to the ferryman, so he would bring them to the other side. So this was the tradition for the Greek Roman people. So it's related with the concept of the people that thought that the bodies came back to the earth. Of course, that some other traditions, what they usually did was to think that the body, the person, the soul, has to go to the skies, to the heavens. So that's why they burn the bodies, they incinerate the bodies, so the ashes could fly on the sky and the person could enlight like fire. Any of them, of both sides, both ways, are okay. What makes all these concepts of mythology? That the idea of this planetoid to incarnate the concept of death, of the end, was established in our subconscious. So that's why we think that's the end, and then we don't know what is going to happen. So because of this idea in our subconscious, the concept of Pluto is all about death, crisis, and ending things. This is why for us today, this planet represents our death, not only the spiritual or the emotional death, but also the physical death. This planet is the one ruling the much more subtle aspect of our solar system, which is the ending, the final process, is the one that says, here is the end of a path, so you can start a new one. Also, the concept of Pluto is the one that tells us it's time to detach, because anything that you have will be forever. You have to let things go. So try to think about this in a gravitational concept. As closer I am from the sun, much more intensity in the gravity, so much more I am attached to things. So we as Earth, we are inside in the closest spots of the sun. El Sol, the sun, here. Aquí, en este territorio, tenemos a Mercurio, Venus, Tierra y Marte. So here in this territory, we have Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. Then here we have a zone of rocks, of asteroids. So in this territory, we have Jupiter and Saturn. And then in this territory, we have Uranus and Neptune. And in this territory, we have Pluto. And then we have the limit of the solar system. So the planets that are really close to the sun all relate to our daily life, to the things that we are attached in life. The communications with others in Mercury, the relationships that we have by Venus, the creativity that we express with Earth, the action and passion that we have by Mars. All of these 4 planets are related to how we act, how we move with others, how we relate, the things that we know from ourselves, the things that we see, that we perceive, the sensations, the emotions, so we are attached to that. So after this limit of the physical world, of how I relate with everything, then we find the much more deeper things and concepts of our soul. The purpose of Jupiter, I have to do this. Inside of me, I have this movement that tells me what to do. And also all the things that I have to solve within myself in order to accomplish that. Inner concepts. And then we have this limit here, which is the transcendental concepts, the spiritual concepts of Uranus and Neptune, that are speaking much more than me. Things that are so wide that I cannot even relate to myself. So we can tell, for example, that the planets that are here, close by the sun, inside the asteroids belt, is the body. Outside the body, after the asteroids belt, we find the soul of the being. And behind the soul, we find the spirit. So what we do usually in our lives, what we usually do is try to survive, which is try to communicate with others, to live in a society, try to love the others, to be attached in a family, try to create stuff on Earth, to produce, and to have action, to do stuff, to passion on the things. So basically to work, to survive, to do our daily things. Usually some people, when they say, this is not enough. I don't have enough with this life of survival. I need to get out to do something different. They start to connect with the soul, with Jupiter, that is saying you have a purpose in your life. You have to do something more to expand. But most of the people, when they reach this, they have to go through the asteroids barrier, the belt. So before you get to the purpose, you say, I know I have a purpose in my life. I have to go to Jupiter. But what would happen if I go through this barrier? Many asteroids, they can kill me. It's so chaotic that I don't know what would happen. So what would happen if I leave the job? What would happen if I leave my family, if I break this relationship? What would happen? So the crisis, this is the belt of asteroids. So some people get to go through all these conflicts and transcend the idea of survival and connect with Jupiter, saying, yes, this is my purpose. This is what I had to do. I know this. So once you get this purpose of Jupiter, suddenly comes the next step, which is Saturn. And Saturn will tell you, slow down. Because before you accomplish your purpose, you have to heal your soul. You have to know the tools that you have. You have to remember all the things that you have done, all the things that your soul has been carrying, which is your ego. Because I know, says Saturn, I know that you come from close to the sun, so you love to shine, the ego thing. So you have to leave behind these ego things of the brightness of the sun, because you're not more the center. You have to heal these concepts. Okay? And then you will be able to accomplish your purpose. And once I healed my soul history, I understood my whole thing. I healed everything of my story. I go out to the spiritual world. From the soul, I find the spirit, and I meet Uranus. And when I find Uranus, it's like the connection to the spiritual world. You start to perceive other dimensions. You start to know that you are not alone in the universe. You start to listen to the aliens, to other beings in other dimensions. You start to connect with so many things, and you expand so much. You lose your axis, because Uranus doesn't have an axis straight like us. So suddenly you get a little bit crazy, a little bit schizophrenic, and suddenly you get all this spiritual world much more hippie, and all the things you starts to spread and so on, that you doesn't have how to anchor all this knowledge that you are receiving and perceiving in the spirituality. And once we did all this chaotic spirituality, we start to find Neptune. And Neptune is the one that says, all those beings that you have been connecting in every dimensions, they are just water drops in an ocean. They are not different beings. All of them are yourself. All of them are only one being experiencing different ways in the shapes of water. So everything is a dream that you have been dreaming. So it's not many things, it's only you, yourself. And you start to connect with the deepest part of the spirituality, going in a meditation process where you find yourself being that water drop in an ocean, being everything. And once you thought that you connected to everything, that you found everything, there was one rock missing, Pluto. that whisper, are you ready to die? And leave everything that you think you are. Pluto is the one that says, the only way you will really show that you were able to understand Neptune is if you dare to die. So Pluto is the one that says, in the moment when you allow yourself to not to exist, when everything ends and you allow yourself to not to exist, is when you really got it. And after death, after Pluto, we become free of something, which is the gravity of the sun. We are not attracted by the sun anymore. And the sun is the ego, is the light that pulls us to life, that brings us to live as a body. So we are free from attachment. So when they say follow the light, it's like coming back once again. So Pluto says, if you don't want to be a drop of water once again, then you have to expand into the cosmos. The gravity of the matter is the one that attaches to this reality. Pluto is the one that says, if we want to become the creators of our own reality, then so we have to set ourselves free from the previous reality we have created for ourselves. So what this tiny planet is saying to us is that if we are willing to transform our lives, we need to learn how to die every day in our lives, during our life. We have to learn how to die emotionally, mentally, spiritually, all the time, to learn how to leave behind aspects of ourselves in order to become something transcendental, something new. There's no need to die physically in order to practice the reincarnation. We need to reincarnate once and again in order to learn how to transform our reality. So Pluto is the one saying this is a must if you want to transform. That's why the only way to create a new thing is destroying the first one, they say. Death and born, being death and birth. So when you want to rebirth yourself, you need to die first. So that's the process of Pluto.